Hey guys, welcome back to the Jason Down podcast. I am your host Jaden, and today we're going to be just recapping the Chargers getting absolutely demolished by the Las Vegas Raiders last night on Thursday Night Football. It was pretty bad. The score was 63-21, and you know the end result of that was Brandon Staley got fired today, like around noon or so. As we all expected he would, probably a little too late. Probably a year too late um, for him getting fired. But, you know, he gets fired anyway, and he's no longer the head coach of the Chargers. So we'll get into all of that and a little bit more here on the podcast today. But before we get started, make sure you guys subscribe to our channel here on YouTube as well. As follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those audio podcast platforms, however you listen to your favorite podcast, we are there. Jay's Fifth Down. Look us up. We're there. Give us a follow, rate us. We would very much appreciate it. Yeah, and without further ado, let's begin. All right. So, like I said, yeah, the Chargers and the Raiders meet AFC West matchup on Thursday Night Football last night on Prime, and it was abysmal. I mean, now granted, Justin Herbert did not play. He's been injured. He's out the rest of the season with his injury, so he wasn't going to play anyway. Like I said, they kept him out. So he's done for the year. And Easton Stick, I believe is his name, if I didn't get that wrong, is the starting quarterback for the Chargers that last night, and he played decently, but that really came like in the second half when the Raiders just had like their second string in, third string in, and they didn't really care at that point because they were up by 40 something points, so that was like the only time in the game where the Chargers could actually move the football down the field, and score points. And they end up with 21 points compared to the Las Vegas Raiders 63. Yeah, so like I said, you know, Aiden O'Connell played an amazing game for the Raiders. He threw for over 200 yards, four touchdowns. I mean, he had a great game, and like a lot of people caught touchdowns. The Ravens had like seven or eight different receivers catch a touchdown, or players with a touchdown rather in general. And it was great. Like I said, O'Connell finished with 248 yards, four touchdowns, 120.7 quarterback rating. Really good football there that he played. Um, and yeah, I mean, so it was pretty good. Like I say, the Chargers just could not stop anything on defense, as we all know. Like it's been a story for most of the year, really the whole year. And it just was one of those games. A very ugly game for them. They were down like 42 nothing at halftime, and Brandon Staley, they interviewed him before he went to the locker room, and and he's like, yeah, we got to come out and play better in the second half. That's all. Like, I mean, he really couldn't say anything else. It's like, I mean, when you're getting blown out 42 to nothing at halftime, I mean, what can you say? And that just show, that he has lost control of the locker room. Those guys don't respect him, enough to even play for him because the effort that the Chargers were showing last night was not good. They just didn't care. Like, I mean, they didn't want to be there. They didn't want to be out there. Like, almost like they knew he'd be fired if they lost the game. So it makes you wonder, did they like make the game even worse, like not giving much effort so that Brandon Staley would in fact be fired. Just for allowing the Raiders to score 60 something points, which should never happen. You're in the NFL, and every defense, like there's no way our team should score 63 points on you. That's just like absolutely not good. Um, so yeah, and I mean, it was just crazy, man. It was just crazy, and like after not scoring at all in last week's game against the Vikings, the Raiders they came out and just full steam ahead. They scored three touchdowns on their first three drives, six touchdowns in the first half, nine total in the game. I mean, they just really had complete control from the beginning. And you could see that early on. And obviously it just Los Angeles could never recover from that. Um, they never could. You know, I mean, and Aiden O'Connell, I have to credit him, man, having a really good football game and him just, stepping up and delivering when he needed to do that, that's just, he was able to do that. And Zamir White, got the start for Josh Jacobs because Jacobs was hurt for the game, and he finished with 69 yards, a touchdown on 17 carries. So that was pretty good there, and they just LA just didn't show up at all. I mean, they just didn't show up. Like I said, Easton Stick started his first NFL game, 23 or 32, 257 yards, three touchdowns, one pick. But it all, like I said, mentioned earlier, it came too late in the game to make a difference. And it's just been disappointment this year for the Chargers. Justin Herbert, they're ruining this kid. They're ruining him. The franchise is ruining him, and it's a good thing they fired Brandon Staley today and the general manager. But they need to get somebody in who can actually continue to develop Justin Herbert and use his strengths to their advantage and throw the ball down the field. Get receivers that match the offense that you want to run, the offense that will be successful. I thought they should have went after Zay Flowers in the draft, right? This past draft, I mean, in April, they should have went after Zay Flowers, get you a speedy guy that can get down the field and great route technician and very twitchy player. But they opted to go for TCU wide receiver. Crap, I can't remember his name, but oh yeah, what is the guy's name, man? Oh my goodness, Quentin Johnson. Yeah, Quentin Johnson from TCU, a bigger receiver. Which has always kind of been their MO for some reason. Like the Chargers, like having an obsession with big receivers. For some reason, like Mike Williams. I mean, Keenan Allen's kind of he's kind of a bigger guy. I mean, maybe normal, average, build for a receiver, but Mike Williams, Quentin Johnson, guys like that. And yeah, I just it was just very disappointing to watch as a football fan, looking at that game. I mean, there's not much to talk about. Like, I mean, they turned the ball over 5 times. You're not going to win football games like that. You can't turn the ball over and expect to win in the NFL, and football in general, but especially in the NFL when you got perennial players on the other side making plays and starting on defense. And they're starting for a reason because they're talented, they're good, most of them at least, and they're gonna make plays if you present them an opportunity to by turning the football over, and you can't do that. So I mean, it's just almost like the Chargers had no game plan at all coming to like they just showed up and just like, hey, we got a game tonight, like let's just yeah. It's like they had no previous planning, no practices, no nothing. It's like they just showed up, kind of like you do in like you know, Pee Wee football. You just kind of show up and play. I mean, even though granted they had their little practices, maybe rec football, those of you that play rec or elementary football, and like we practice a little bit, but not that much. But we still practice, right? It's like the Chargers from this game. It's like they didn't even practice at all. It's like they didn't do any type of game prep, any type of film study or anything. Like, it's like they just showed up, put on their pads, and say, "Hey, we got game tonight, so let's play this game." Like no sense of initiative, no drive. I don't know. Just was not good. And I don't know. But yeah. So like I said, the Chargers fired Brandon Staley, earlier today, along with the general manager, and for the meantime, the interim coach for the Chargers will be the linebackers coach, Jeff Smith, and JoJo Wooden will be the interim general manager for the rest of the season. And Smith, he's been with the Los Angeles Chargers since 2016, so and Wooden since 2013. So yeah, so those two will be running the show from here on out after Brandon's departure. As much as NFL fans and Chargers fans have been pleading for a long time here now. Uh, you know, I mean, and Brandon Staley is one of those cases where like he was a good defensive coordinator for a good Rams team that had a lot of great defensive players when they won the Super Bowl back in 21, 22 season, and because of that defense, and I think they were like number one in the league at the time, you know, he got looks because of that because he was a defense coordinator, and working for Sean McVay. He got a Super Bowl. I mean, leading the league's number one defense, coaching the league's number one defense. Like, of course, that's going to get you head coaching interviews, whatever. And he got an interview with the Chargers, got the job, and he is a horrible head coach. Like, he just cannot make any game decisions correctly. Like a lot of questionable play calling defensively, like schematics. Just it's just a lot of things I don't understand what Brandon Staley was doing in his time with the Chargers. And he goes 24-24 in his whole tenure, right at 500, not above, not below it. So take with that what you will, but to me, it seems like there's no signs of improvement at all. Like from his first year all the way till now, the he has not grown and developed as a coach. You talk about players and their growth and their development from year one to year three, year four, right? Just even in that time span, for the sake of it, let's just use that time span. Brandon Staley, as a coach, has not done that. And this was his yeah, third season being the head coach, or no, his second season rather being head coach for the Chargers. Um, and just no growth at all from year one to year two. Still making the same mistakes. Like same mistakes, same in-game decision making. And blah 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 blah, and the play calling defensively. Him calling the defense, multiple times, even though it's clear that he should have stepped down from those duties. I mean, because he obviously couldn't handle it, being a head coach and a defense coordinator and doing all those things, in one roundabout. And he couldn't handle it. Yeah, but of course he, being the arrogant guy he is, as far as in that regard, and this is the prideful head coach, right? Hey, I can handle it. I can do this. And we saw the same thing happen with Dan Quinn in Atlanta when he was the head coach and the defense coordinator, and it did not work. And he got fired. So um, much like Brandon Staley just did. So I'm interested to see how the Chargers are going to look the rest of the year. I'm really interested to see that. How are they going to look the rest of the year? How they're going to address positions that they need in the offseason, in the draft. Justin Herbert, man, like I said, I mean, his prime years are going to waste right now. If the Chargers do not find a head coach that can grow and mold Herbert, continue to grow and mold him into the player that we know he can be, that he has been, like, and help him be that player on a consistent basis. You know, yeah, I mean, if we have that happen, it's like, you know, um, the Chargers, could be a way different ball club than what they are right now. They could have been a different ball club than what they are right now, what they've been. Maybe they don't blow that lead into Jacksonville in the playoffs last year. Um, but all in all, disappointing game for them, and got an interesting weekend of football here in the NFL coming up this weekend. Very interesting. Looking forward to it. Yeah, I mean, like I said, this weekend we're getting closer and closer to the playoffs, and the 49ers have already clinched a spot there. And I think it's safe to say that we know who the best teams in each conference are right now. And I have to say the Ravens, for me right now, the Baltimore Ravens are like the best team in the AFC. And I don't see much threat to them. I don't. The Chiefs, I mean, they'll make the divisional round and they'll be a first round exit because their receivers can't catch a cold in dang Antarctica right now. With shorts and no shirt and shorts on and some flip flops, they couldn't catch a cold in Antarctica dressed like that. And they just catch Mahomes, turn the ball over. Like the team is just not playing overall good football. Defense is a little bit better than they have been previously, but it's not enough if your offense cannot capitalize, cannot score, cannot push the ball down the field, cannot get first downs, cannot keep the chains moving, and then add in all the stuff with the refs and everything like that, and this team isn't focused at the moment. So, they got to get back right. They got to get back focused. They won't have a chance to go far in the postseason. A lot of time left, but way things looking right now, and this is a week by week, you know, output that we're getting from Kansas City, then they're not going to get far in the playoffs, realistically speaking. And there's just no threat to the Ravens right now. I don't see any threat to them in the AFC. And NFC wise, we obviously talk about the Eagles, the 49ers, the Warriors. I mean, not the Warriors. I don't know why I said the Warriors, but the Eagles, the 49ers. I mean, I guess we could say that's it. Yeah, the Eagles, the 49ers. The NFC doesn't. I mean, I don't. Again, the Cowboys. You know, they might have a great year and they might do really good in the season, but when they get to the divisional round, they'll blow it like they always do. Dak Prescott will wet the bed like he always does. Um, the Lions, the way they've been playing recently against these subpar teams, I don't know if they will be able to go far either. And I'm rooting for the Lions. I want them to make like the divisional this year. If they don't, if it's like if they're a wild card team, I want them to make the divisional at least. Heck, I thought at the beginning of the year that they even had potential to, or at least in the middle of the year, close to the, beginning to the middle of the year, like they had potential to go to the NFC Championship. Like that's how good they were playing. But then that loss to the Packers on Thanksgiving and the Bears, and now it's just like I don't know like what I mean the Lions. I just don't know what's going on. They're turning the ball over a lot. 9 turnovers in the last couple of games with Jared Goff, and that's just not going to win you football games. And they got to stop doing that. They got to get back on their grind and do what they've been doing, getting their wins, what's been getting them those wins, and if they want to have any chance of competing in this NFC. So uh, who knows? We might get a 49ers and Ravens Super Bowl again, just like we did in what 2012, 2013. Like, we might get a rematch of that, and it will be a very interesting game for sure. But, long way from that. So only time will tell. But yeah, like I said, this is going to shape up to be very interesting weekend. Plus, we got Saturday football as well. Tomorrow, got the Vikings and Bengals. Um, so Josh Dobbs has been moved to third string in favor of Nick Mullins starting, and Jaron Hall will be the backup. Josh Dobbs is the third string, so the Dobbs sanity run is over for all you Dobbs fans out there. Steelers Colts as well tomorrow. That's a very important game in AFC race. Very important game for both teams. The Colts have got to get a win here if they want to keep their position in the AFC South and have a chance to get into the playoffs. The Steelers, the same thing. You know, the Gardner Minshew, he's been doing a decent job, a little up and down, but filling in for Anthony Richardson this year after he went on IR. And they're gonna need a Minshew magic performance from him, or at least enough to keep them, you know, um, to keep them in the standings in the race to the playoffs. So that's a huge game for and then the Broncos and Lions. Like you just mentioned with the Lions, they've been looking sus lately, so to speak. And the Broncos, they're 7-6 right now. Can they make a little run themselves? Can they start winning a few ball games here? And this will be a big test for them. I mean, this will be a really big test. The Lions are a good team. They just haven't been playing like one the last couple weeks, but they're a good team. Is it, the defense has been the best this year for them. So we'll see what happens. I mean, like I said, it'll be an interesting weekend of football, and it'll only make, once we hit January, interesting shape up for the playoffs. Um, see how the Dolphins do as well. Can they continue to, can they bounce back after that loss to the Titans and find a way to win and keep winning? That's my question. So, yeah, guys, that it should be a really fun weekend of football this weekend for the NFL. And hope you guys enjoyed the show. Please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, like and follow us there, and yeah, follow us also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and wherever you get your favorite podcasts. That's where we are. James with Down. Please check us out, and hope you guys have a good one. Enjoy your weekend, and we will see you next time.